Welcome to Confined Space Entry Training, brought to you by TechDocEngineering.com. In this comprehensive training video, we will equip you with the essential knowledge and skills required for safe entry into confined spaces. Whether you work in manufacturing, construction, or any industry where confined spaces are present, this training is crucial for your safety. Introduction to Confined Spaces. Heading: Understanding Confined Spaces. Key message: confined spaces are areas with limited entry and exit points, making them potentially hazardous work environments. Definition of confined spaces: learn what defines a confined space and the specific characteristics that differentiate them from open areas. Additional detail: according to OSHA, confined spaces have limited means of entry or exit, are not designed for continuous occupancy, and may have atmospheric hazards or physical obstructions. Types of confined spaces: explore various examples of confined spaces, including tanks, silos, tunnels, and vessels. Additional examples: examples also include sewers, boilers, vaults, and manholes. Hazards in confined spaces: understand the potential hazards, such as toxic atmospheres, flammable gases, and physical obstructions. Additional hazard detail: OSHA emphasizes the presence of atmospheric hazards like low oxygen levels, high concentrations of toxic gases, or flammable atmospheres. Segment 2: Confined Space Regulations. Heading: Regulatory Requirements. Importance of regulations: recognize the significance of adhering to regulatory standards related to confined space entry. Additional regulatory detail: OSHA's standard for confined spaces, 29 CFR 1910.146, is designed to protect workers from confined space hazards. OSHA standards: learn about the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, regulations in the United States and their implications for confined space work. Additional OSHA detail: the OSHA standard requires employers to identify and evaluate confined spaces, develop entry programs, and provide training for employees. Employer responsibilities: understand the responsibilities of employers in providing a safe working environment in confined spaces. Additional employer responsibility: employers must also establish and document entry procedures, including rescue and emergency response plans. Worker rights: explore the rights and protections afforded to workers regarding confined space safety. Additional worker right: workers have the right to receive training on confined space hazards, procedures, and equipment. Segment 3: Confined Space Entry Permit. Heading: Entry Permit Systems. Purpose of entry permits: discover how entry permits are used to control and document confined space entry. Additional permit detail: entry permits serve as a crucial tool to ensure that all necessary precautions have been taken before entry. Permit issuance process: learn the steps involved in obtaining and issuing entry permits, including roles and responsibilities. Additional issuance detail: entry permits typically require the signature of an authorized supervisor and the entrant. Entry conditions: explore the conditions that must be met before entry, including atmospheric testing and equipment checks. Additional entry condition: atmospheric testing must be conducted at multiple levels within the confined space. Continuous monitoring: discuss the importance of ongoing monitoring during confined space entry to ensure safety. Additional monitoring detail: continuous monitoring is essential, especially in spaces where atmospheric conditions can change rapidly. Segment 4: Atmospheric Testing. Heading: Atmospheric Testing. Gas detection equipment: learn about gas detectors, their types, and their use in confined space entry. Additional gas detector detail: gas detectors should be properly calibrated and maintained for accuracy. Testing protocols: understand the steps involved in atmospheric testing, including pre-entry, continuous monitoring, and alarm levels. Additional testing protocol: pre-entry testing verifies that a confined space is safe for entry, while continuous monitoring ensures safety during work. Gas hazards: explore common gases found in confined spaces, such as oxygen deficiency, flammable gases, and toxic gases. Additional gas hazard detail: OSHA defines permissible exposure limits, PELs, for various hazardous gases, which must not be exceeded during entry. Interpretation of results: discover how to interpret gas detector readings and take appropriate action based on results. Additional interpretation detail: entrants should be trained to respond immediately if any atmospheric alarm sounds. Segment 5: Confined Space Hazards. Heading: Identifying confined space hazards. Common hazards: learn about the potential hazards encountered in confined spaces, including engulfment, electrical hazards, and hazardous materials. Additional common hazard detail: electrical hazards can arise when equipment is used in confined spaces, requiring proper lockout/tagout procedures. Physical hazards: explore physical hazards such as limited space, slippery surfaces, and falling objects. Additional physical hazard detail: the presence of physical hazards necessitates the use of fall protection equipment and precautions against engulfment. Psychological hazards: understand the psychological impact of working in confined spaces and strategies for managing stress and anxiety. Additional psychological hazard detail: workers should receive training to recognize and cope with psychological stressors during confined space entry. Segment 6: Confined Space Equipment. Heading: Safety Equipment and PPE. Personal Protective Equipment, PPE. Discover the essential PPE required for confined space entry, including respirators, harnesses, and communication devices. Additional PPE detail: PPE should be selected based on the specific hazards present in the confined space. Ventilation systems: learn about the importance of proper ventilation to maintain a safe atmosphere within confined spaces. Additional ventilation detail: ventilation systems should be capable of providing a continuous supply of fresh air to the confined space. Entry and retrieval equipment: explore specialized equipment for entry and rescue operations, including tripods, winches, and lifelines. Additional entry equipment detail: tripods and winches are essential for safely exiting vertical confined spaces. Segment 7: Confined Space Entry Procedures. Heading: Safe Entry Procedures. Pre-entry planning: understand the importance of thorough pre-entry planning, including hazard assessment and rescue planning. Additional pre-entry planning detail: hazard assessments should identify all potential hazards and their control measures. Entry team roles: learn about the roles and responsibilities of team members, including the entrant, attendant, and entry supervisor. Additional entry team role detail: the entry supervisor plays a critical role in overseeing the safety of the confined space entry. Communication: explore effective communication strategies within the confined space entry team and with personnel outside the space. Additional communication detail: effective two-way communication is crucial for entrants to convey their status and needs to attendants. Segment 8: Emergency Response. Heading: Confined Space Rescue. Rescue plans: discuss the importance of having a well-defined rescue plan in place before entering confined spaces. Additional rescue plan detail: rescue plans should outline procedures, equipment, and personnel responsible for rescue operations. Equipment and training: learn about rescue equipment and the training required for effective confined space rescue. Additional rescue equipment detail: confined space rescue equipment should be regularly inspected and maintained. Communication: explore the vital role of communication in coordinating rescue efforts in confined spaces. Additional communication detail: entrants should carry communication devices, and attendants should be trained in emergency response procedures. Practice and drills: emphasize the need for regular rescue drills to ensure responders are prepared for emergencies. Additional drill detail: drills should simulate real rescue scenarios, allowing responders to practice their skills under realistic conditions. Conclusion: as we conclude this extensive confined space entry training, remember that your safety and the safety of your colleagues depend on your knowledge and adherence to safety procedures. Confined spaces can be challenging environments, but with the right training and precautions, accidents can be prevented. Thank you for joining us on this important journey to confined space safety. For more educational content, visit our YouTube channel, www.techdosengineering.com. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for future updates. Stay tuned for more videos on safety and engineering excellence.